Okay, good morning and welcome. We'd like to go ahead and get started with today's Board of Utah County Commissioners meeting. We appreciate your attendance and the opportunity to be here today. We typically like to start our meetings with a prayer, reading, or thought, followed with the Pledge of Allegiance, and look for volunteers who would be willing to participate with us in that. Are there any who would be willing to offer a prayer, reading, or thought, or lead us in the pledge? Aaron, the pledge. Thank you, Scott. And we'll come to the podium and we'll get started.
For this great land that we live in, we give thanks for the blessings that we have, that we're able to do the things that we want to do, the things that we need to do, the freedoms that we have, the liberties that we enjoy. Bless us, Father, so that we will always be very mindful of this, and so that we will do everything that we can in our powers to protect that, because we know once it is lost, it is very hard to get back. Bless us at this meeting today, Father, so that we will be able to conduct the business on behalf of the public, and we'll be able to conduct it in a civil and fair way. Bless us, Father, so that we will be able to go home and travel home in safety today. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We appreciate your participation with us on that this morning. Did want to take just a moment this morning at the start of our meeting. Without question, our greatest asset as a county is our employees. And very tragically and unexpectedly this week, we lost one of our finest, Don Ney, who was one of our chief assistants at our Public Works, unexpectedly passed from a heart attack. And he will be greatly missed by his family and loved ones, and he will be greatly missed by his county family. He was a phenomenal individual, a great person, and he had a steady hand in all that he did. And we will greatly miss his services to the county. And on behalf of the commission and the county, we send our condolences to his family and offer our love and support in their time of mourning and suffering. And we'll now go ahead and move into our regular portion of our meeting. We're going to start today with a public hearing. This is dealing with some insurance and other items. Perhaps, Matt, if you'd like to come and just introduce this concept a little bit, and then we'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's a great day to be in Utah County. My name is Matt Dugdale with George K. Baum & Company, financial advisor to the county. And the public hearing and subsequent resolutions today are an issuance of bonds through the county by Intermountain Healthcare. And so for those that came with intrigue for these agenda items today, please rest assured that the county is not going into the healthcare business. This is just a reflection of a structure that's done very commonly in the tax-exempt markets, where a 501c3 corporation will access the tax-exempt bond market through a local government, through a conduit, and there are state statute and IRS federal tax code requirements, and this public hearing and these resolutions are part of that. By acting as conduit, Utah County's financial statements are not impacted. No tax dollars go towards these bonds, and the county is fully indemnified. And the county has done this before on several occasions in the past, and this is another issuance, and proceeds will be spent within the county and other counties throughout the state. And again, the county's bond rating will not be affected. The county's bonding capacity is not affected. Bank qualification is not affected. And we do have some representatives. Want to recognize Dustin Matsumori with Intermountain Healthcare, and Chris Walrath, Bond Counsel to Intermountain Healthcare, are here to answer any questions. And also Randy Larson with Gilmore Bell, Bond Counsel to Utah County, is here. So we're happy to answer any questions that the commission may have or any questions that arise from the public.
Fantastic.
Great.
I believe procedurally at this point, we will go ahead and open the public hearing for comments on this particular issue. Are there any from the public who would wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, I would.
No. No.
We don't have to.
Okay. I was just making sure we didn't have to get Salt Lake County online.
We did. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion will carry 3-0. My understanding is we need to make an additional motion at this point, Dave, or just on the resolutions in the regular agenda?
A part of that agenda item includes the adoption of a resolution. So
Okay.
that should be done by separate motion.
So I will entertain the motion for the adoption of the separate resolution.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution as stated in number 1 on the public hearing, or as stated in the public hearing documents.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as stated in the public hearing documents. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion will carry 3-0. That will conclude the public hearing section of this particular of the meeting. We'll now look to build the remainder of our agenda. All items will be considered moved to consent unless items are specifically noted and held for discussion. In looking through our consent agenda, I had number 12 needing to probably be tabled until after our closed meetings so that we can discuss an appointment there, as that one arose as a result of Don's passing. Were there any other of the 15 consent agenda items needing held for discussion?
Yes. Number 4, the link doesn't work. I tried it even this morning, and so I did not have an opportunity to review that amendment. So I would propose that we continue that for a week.
Okay.
Okay. Renee?
But yeah, but if we can't see it and review it, we're not gonna pass it, doesn't matter how time sensitive it is. Right?
Correct. Ben Van Noy, County Attorney's Office. This is an increase in funding from the state. I had trouble loading it as well. I had seen a version from Rebecca, which was okay with me. That's why I approved it. And then after that, something happened with the link.
I had seen the document when it was originally came onto
Right.
the system, so.
And
You
I've
have
been-
seen it and reviewed it?
Oh.
Well, I've been hand delivered a document right now. Again, it's just an increase in funding from the state. These are typically, we sail them right through, so I could hand
I
these to.
would suggest maybe that we table it,
Sure,
and then we can maybe bring it forward after our closed meetings, and then we can have the document to review.
that works. Would you like it right now?
Sure. I won't have a chance to read it right now, but,
Right.
we'll find a chance.
We'll find a chance. And that was, there must have been a system error because it was working when it, on the
Oh.
original appro.
Yeah, it just gives us a file directory not found now.
Yeah,
I
and that
tried.
was, because that was when I was working through the process of the agenda. It was,
Well, I don't know what happened. I know last night I went onto the county website and it
the
looked
whole
like it had been
website
hacked.
was hacked.
Yeah, so I called Neil and said, we better get on something with that. Anyway, I didn't get a chance
That's fair.
before, and then this morning looked again and didn't see it. Could we hold number 5, number 7? I would propose that, just for my benefit, that we continue number 10 for 1 week. There's some other discussions I'd like to have on that, if that's okay with the commission.
Works for me.
That's fine.
And then number 12 has been tabled.
Make sure I got them all.
Okay, so that have, on consent, number 4 to continue, number 5 and 7 for discussion,
Let's see, number 4 to continue, no, number 4 to table.
April, sorry. Document. Okay, number 4 to table, 5 and 7 for discussion, and number 10 to continue.
Number 10 to continue. Number 12 to table, which yours.
Number 12 we were tabling. Okay, looking into our regular agenda, I have regular agenda item number 9 to be held for discussion. Regular agenda item number 11, 12, and 13 to be held for discussion.
Okay, can you say the first, what's the first one you said? 9?
9.
I would like 5 and 7 held. For discussion.
7, 9, 11, and 12.
11, 12, and 13 need to just be
Yes.
held for a separate motion is what we were instructed.
So 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Lee, any of those? Okay, all right, we will then move to consent agenda item number 5. This is to look at approving and authorizing an amendment to the agreement between Utah County and BCS Cleaning Specialists. Commissioner Lee, you had a question on this one?
Yeah, a couple questions. Well, one question in particular, it came up with a question from Brian on this one. There's $2,913, which needs to have an account. It needs to come from somewhere. It says on there to be determined. I'd like to determine where that's coming from.
And Mr. Chairman, I know that Public Works will have it somewhere in their budget, but it just wasn't listed on the agenda item. That's why I put
So
to
we-
be determined.
So to be determined that it is, but to determine that it's coming from the Public Works budget. Is that fair enough, Richard? Okay. Okay, that was it.
Okay, I will entertain. I'll entertain a motion then.
Move that we approve and authorize consent agenda item 5.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 5. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion will carry 3-0. Next, we have consent agenda item number 7. This is to look at approving and authorizing an agreement between the Utah County Department of Drug and Alcohol Prevention and the First Step House to provide substance abuse treatment. Commissioner Lee, you had a question?
I noticed there's a comment on there that says Richard Johnson's email is wrong, so if we can make sure that that's corrected in that. And then besides that, just an explanation of what we're doing here. I think I understand what we're doing with Salt Lake, in Salt Lake County, or that facilities in Salt Lake County. And just kind of coordination with me so I understand what we're trying to accomplish. And if you also could address, in there it says that this agreement is going to be from February of this year, which we've already passed, and why we're going back with the agreement. It's got to be advantageous for us, I would assume, so.
Pat Bird with Department of Drug and Alcohol and Prevention and Treatment. First, with regard to the February backdating, we had an individual in our services that needed a higher level of care. The clinical team made a decision to place this individual in this long-term setting. The individual started back in February. And with regard to that, we did not have a contract in place, and they thought we did. And so we negotiated a case-by-case, which is this particular contract. This particular long-term residential program is male only, high risk, high need, and so very particular with the services that will be provided. And so that's why we're backdating it. First Step House okayed the individual to come in without the contract, even though we didn't have one in place, and that's why we're at today.
Okay. I knew there was an explanation.
Good question.
It always looks funny when it's on there and we're going
Absolutely.
back. on a contract.
It took us a little while to work out the details. The last contract we had was 2011. We thought we had one in place, but we did not, so. I think, any other questions?
And so for us, it's advantageous to go. Now, I noticed that they separate male and female, so this is a male only?
This is male only, yes.
Yeah.
Long-term residential, very specialized care, so.
Okay, do we have anything, we don't have anything like that, that's the reason, in our county that would facilitate this, and that's why we're reaching out.
Yeah, we don't have a long-term residential facility,
And we've got Foothill and others
short-term, yep.
short-term.
We do have another long-term contract with Odyssey House, which is out of Salt Lake as well, which is male and female, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve and authorize commission to sign the agreement as stated in number 7 with the change of Robert Johnson's email.
Yeah. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 7, all with the noted change. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. And is continued. We will now look to regular agenda item number 5. This is to look adding a full-time career service county events coordinator position. Commissioner Graves, you had a question on this one?
Yeah, this one caught me by surprise. This one, the problem I have with this one is we had a contract in place at which we were paying $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year for all these services unbenefited. And now to increase on this estimate to, with benefits, to $75,308.04 is quite concerning to me. So there's a lot of work, but I'm just wondering why we don't contract it out or put it out to an RFP and do a cost analysis and see which one's gonna work best for us, because we're kind of not in a hurry since all the events are kind of already underway, and that's kind of where I was coming at on this one, because $50,000 is a lot extra, concerning we're in the middle of a salary thing for the employees, and $50,000 is a lot of money, so.
Right, and it depends how you want to handle these functions, really. I know you've done it by contract in the past, but I think I understood that contract was ending, or you were ending it, and wanted to look toward having a full-time employee take on those functions. And so I know you all were sent an email a couple weeks ago to see if you had any comments on the proposed job description, and I also emailed you Thursday just to see if you wanted to have any discussion before this discussion, but it's really up to you how you want to, fill the need for those services, I guess.
I think for me in particular, looking at the position and the job description, it expands, and the difference in the financial restitution, it expands on the contract that we've currently had. The current contract mainly covered our county fair. This particular position would be a position that enables us to host additional events and provide additional service outside of what the current contract that we would compare it to in salary reimbursement would be. So this would be a dedicated individual within the county handling some additional function.
Right, my understanding would be beyond the scope of what your current contract or former contract would have included. So again, it's a different way to fill those needs and have somebody dedicated full-time to them, but it's your call as to whether you want to handle it that way.
Yeah, what I also didn't see in here, is this a merit or is this appointed? When it says reports to a portfolio commissioner, that's troublesome, because we call it Utah County Events, and yet, we do a lot of things that we make them report to all the commissioners.
Right, but just like any other department or employee, you sort of funnel through a portfolio commissioner, and it is identified as a full-time career service.
I know, but the events we're all
position.
talking about in this case are all heavily involved with just the commission. That's why I say to have a portfolio commissioner, whereas it's, like we've done in the past, we've done weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly meetings depending on the need with the individual, or even one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I say it doesn't, I can't see in here where it calls for whether it's a merit position, which is.
Career service is merit.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what the status would be, is just a regular career service / merit type position.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
one of the things that I didn't see, of course, we're mid-year budget. This was something that wasn't in this year's budget. But I'm assuming if you do implement something before this year closes, that the plan is to just reassign some of the existing funds you have assigned to some of these events to help fund this position.
Correct.
So, and I don't know who circled it before they uploaded it, but number 20, where it says oversee the preparation and execution of the budget and legal insurability limits. I don't know why that's circled on mine, but typically that's when you're talking government and legal limits and governmental immunity, how it changes all the time. That's not something that the education and qualifications match. When you're talking a high school diploma, you're generally talking in some sort of financial background. And so to me, these just aren't even in balance. If we're going to expand the scope, then we need to expand the requirements.
Well, I might have circled it, I can't remember for sure, but that was part of the discussion that we had is, you know, how high a level is this position? What is the level of responsibility, managerially and financially and so on? And we've sort of kept it maybe at a lower level than you could justify based on some of these requirements until we kind of see how it actually plays out and what scope of the position they're actually doing versus doing under supervision and so on.
Here's my other concern. As you can tell, I have a lot on this one. It's not just a $74,000 position, because when you're talking events based on county policy, going back and forth to these events, they're going to get mileage. I mean, we're talking about, and when we have it contracted, whoever comes and bids has already got that built in. So now we're talking about running from this office down to the fair probably 40 times a day when it's fair time. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you have a lot of things when you're talking the Commissioner's Cup or any of these events, the annual employee appreciation dinner, whatever it is, running and getting donations and working on the logistics. It's, you know, it becomes a greater cost than that. And so for me, that's why, you know, this one, I did see the emails, but I knew we'd discuss it here. And so,
And that's why I figured we'll just,
so for me,
discuss it here, so.
I'm a no at this point on this one.
So do you have this position, it would be a commission position, right?
Be within the commission office department, yes.
So there's no, in looking at this, concern with portfolio commissioner, and reporting to the commission. I mean, I guess some of the concerns I have is when I read down through some of the essential functions on here, it seems like we're doubling up. We have an IT department who does a lot of our audio-visual stuff already, and they're supposed to be checking that. Some of the things that I see in here in the way of the coordinating and logistics and some of the events we do, our assistants do that. You know, our assistants work with some of that. So I'm a little, I personally think we're a little premature on this. I can see possibly a need in the future. I think we're a little premature on this position.
Again, that's up to you how you want to handle this. I know one concern was I mentioned a potential applicant that might, be transferring off the county's payroll, but that shouldn't dictate whether you decide to do this or not.
Well, if we want to go there, I got
that
some
should be
other
any-
concerns on that issue.
Yeah.
But since you can't create a position with somebody in mind,
Right,
yeah, let's not open that can of worms.
that's fine. Right.
I certainly don't think it's an attempt to create
No,
a position
I-
with someone in mind. It's simply
No,
saying,
Well,
how
but
can
when
we
we
better
say
handle
we have
these
somebody
events?
transferring out, that sounds to me, we can, code it however we want, but that's what it potentially sounds like.
okay, and I don't mean it that way, just to point out that's one reason we were kind of putting it on now.
From my recollection, there wasn't much response to the email, so.
No, and that's why,
Well, again, because I chose that I was going to talk about it here, I generally don't put things in emails.
okay. Well, again, it's your decision, obviously, so I just putting it out there and so you can act on it or discuss it.
It sounds like it definitely needs revision, so I would entertain either continuance or strike indefinitely?
I would, instead of voting on it, I would just recommend that we strike this from the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that.
A motion and a second to strike regular agenda item number 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll carry 3-0. Now look at regular agenda item number 7. This is to take action to refer to the Utah County Planning Commission a review of the RR5 rural residential zone with instructions to recommend maintenance and mending or abolishing the RR5 zone.
Yes, this is one that I put on the agenda, and there's some citizens here that have come, and I had some conversation with Bryce as well as we were looking at this. It seems like it was something already kind of contemplated from Planning Commission to take a peek at, but it'd be nice to. This is just a recommendation. It is a recommendation to move it to the Planning Commission so they can consider this. And from there, the citizens and others can talk about some of the concerns they expressed to me on this issue. And of course, I left it in the sense of maintaining, amending, and abolishing so that their options were open and they could look at it in a responsible way. Bryce, did you have anything that you wanted to interject with this? I know we talked and you seemed like you were in favor of this recommendation to go to the Planning Commission.
Yes, this is Bryce Armstrong, Community Development. I don't want to necessarily speak for the applicants that have concerns here, but in the past we've had some issues come up relative to some of the restrictions in the RR5 zone. The RR5 zone was originally kind of created in the late 70s to act as a more dense development zone. We have some areas in the county that have some water systems that allow a little more dense development. Over time, there's been some restrictions limited to agricultural use, livestock numbers. More importantly, recently, there's been some concerns about the limitation on size of accessory structures and barns. And so I think that's been a concern that's been creeping up. And so we've kind of been thinking about taking a look at that. This is a little more broad look, and so we're certainly open to that. I think what we could do with the kind of the broad nature of the request, Planning Commission meets in June next week. I think we can put it on as a work session with our noticing limitations and at least get it exposed to them, and then see what direction they want to go and move accordingly.
Okay.
And Commissioner Lee brought this to my attention to look for it, and so I was anxiously anticipating this on the agenda. I think this is a good move. I really do support it, so I'm excited to go down this road and see what they recommend. I like leaving it open, although I'm definitely for one of the 3 options, more so than the others.
Right.
But I think this is a good thing, so I support, and good catch, and I like this. So
I don't know if there's some that have come here that might want to comment on
she
it.
has a comment on the last item she just texted.
Oh,
That's what Michelle's waiting for.
oh, are you gonna wait for public comment, or
It was
Okay.
it was on the last agenda item.
Okay. Glenn?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Glenn Roberts, and I have the great opportunity to live in the RR5 zone. And did not know that I had the limitations and restrictions on my property that were discovered when a neighbor of mine wanted to build a barn. And so we would very much like the Commissioners, the Planning Commission, to entertain a hard look at this zone, because the applicability of the zone to the properties just, in our opinion, doesn't fit. One of the things we were doing was filling out the form to have the zone changed, and one of the questions was, how does this zone change affect the health, safety, welfare, and morals of the community? And I tried to answer that question, and I didn't know how to answer the question, because frankly, most of the properties in that zone already violate the zone. So, in my opinion, it makes it stay the same. I mean, you know, with the zone or without the zone, the health, safety, welfare, and morals of the people are going to be the same. So we encourage a hard look at this, and we pulled a bunch of data, and we can help take a hard look at it and see that it affects the property in a more appropriate way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comment? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we take action to refer number 7 to the Planning Commission, and that it be on their next planning agenda, preferably in a work session item, so that they can talk about this issue and then move forward appropriately.
Second.
A motion and a second to refer regular agenda item number 7 to the Planning Commission with preference for a work session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. That will bring us to regular agenda item number 9.
Should we take?
Michelle, do you want to comment now?
Yeah.
Apologize about it.
Yeah, my name's Michelle Rougeau, and I wanted to comment on item agenda number 5. I think it's absolutely disgusting this is even considered, and we're fighting for a market study to be implemented, and we have sheriff's deputies on food stamps, and you want to hire a glorified party planner. It's disgusting. I went to a commissioner's cup yesterday that was planned by 2 county commissioners' assistants without any extra cost to them. They weren't reimbursed for their time. It was part of their job, and they did a fantastic job, and you want to hire a party planner. It's disgusting. We're fighting for a market study. The money should go to the current employees, and people should just do their job that they currently have. Lisa and Brian didn't complain about the job they had. They did it, and they did it well. So why should there be a position created to plan more parties?
Just to add to that real quick, Spring was also there and helped yesterday fully, so. Well, all 3 did
All 3.
help participate.
I was unable to attend because of personal problems, so. We will now look at regular agenda item number 11.
Number 9.
9, sorry. Yeah, skip that new or skip something.
So on this one, I wanted to thank Ben for his many hours, and long nights, and sleepless camping. Work on this issue as we kind of massaged and went through it back and forth. And I know from your comments that there's some fine tuning which we need to go through with public planning, just on land uses. And so some things were taken out to at least get us to this point. But I just wanted to thank you for listening to us, arguing with us, and finding something that gets us to an area that I think we all feel comfortable with, hopefully, and we can kind of move forward with this issue, as it is a big issue for us in this county as we go forward.
Thank you, and I'll have to divert some of that attention to Public Works, Sheriff's Office, and the Commission. You guys we've all helped contribute to produce this proposed ordinance, including Deputy County Attorney Carl Holland. You're correct. We're working with community development to address some of the personal property issues through the land use ordinance, the proper procedures going through that. As far as the ordinance as it is currently presented, the fine tuning that really needs to happen is just the renumbering of some of the other ordinances. It kind of pushes back some of the other ordinances. If the commission would like to continue this for a week, we could get that all fine tuned, leave this on. I think we'd be ready to go by next week.
Actually,
as long as it's done before the 30th. I mean, we have to get up to a point where we're done so that we can do a few things up the canyon.
And if we get it done by next week, we'll have time. That'll be timely.
actually, the only one I'd like to hear about is behind you. If Darren wouldn't mind coming up and representing the sheriff. I know the sheriff had some feelings, so I just would like you to address this, how this benefits our community, the safety. Will this help, and without infringing on people's rights? Because those were issues that the sheriff raised and all those things. So since...
Sure. I read the proposed ordinance before I came over today. I would say that we wholeheartedly support that. It enhances our ability and our efforts to deal with some of the issues that we have addressed with you in prior conversations. I know that you've seen it firsthand, some of the issues that we have in sensitive areas, Obviously, ecological issues that are a result of people illegally camping and us not having the tools and ability to have them move on. So from our perspective, it's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. Gives us additional tools to be able to do our job.
And I, you
Thank
know,
you.
in working with Yvette and with Wayne on this issue, I think we were to eliminate some of the private property infringements that we saw that were causing some hiccups there.
Right.
This latest version, I think, accomplishes that
Yeah,
very well.
I felt that it did. I thought it was a good read.
I guess the question then, Ben, is can we make note in a motion today for the noted changes?
That was my other suggestion. We could do that if you recommend that we renumber the corresponding ordinances in accordance, to push them back. I think we could approve this today if the commission would like to, with that.
Just a numbering issue that you have?
Yeah, I believe so.
So state it for us so that when we make a motion, we can make sure we have it accurately.
Sure.
And Renee gets 2 chances to get it
Will-
right
will-
for us.
On 13-9-6, will you put a period at the end of that as
Or no?
well? So that it's just consistent. I mean, I know that's really a minor thing, but.
In
the title, disposition and release of personal property, period.
I see.
So it's just uniform.
Consistent with everything else.
I can do that, yeah.
So what numbers?
So this replaces, or the current 13.9 is I believe, the lewdness ordinance. So, and there's 2 or 3 subsequent ordinances after that will be renumbered. So I think if the motion says something like, approve this ordinance and renumber the subsequent ordinances accordingly, I think something simple as that would work.
In other words, if we're taking 13.9, we're replacing 13.9 and it's then going to 1310.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And so on, because
That
there's a
makes
few
sense.
after
That
that.
makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then are we ready for a motion?
Yes.
I will move that we adopt the ordinance enacting Chapter 13, Article 9 of the Utah County Code relating to offenses and miscellaneous provisions with the renumbering of subsequent ordinances inside the county for it to be numerically correct.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 9 with the noted changes to numerical ordering. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion will carry 3-0. All right, next we have regular agenda item number 11. This relates back to our public hearing, just dealing with the bond resolution. Again, we'll probably go ahead and turn maybe some time to Matt if you want to just briefly walk us through this particular one.
Thank you, Commissioners. There are a few resolutions because Intermountain Healthcare is issuing different types of bonds. And in lieu of practicing law without a license, perhaps I'll invite Chris Walrath up, Chapman and Cutler, to go through these as he has drafted those and can answer those questions. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Good morning. My name is Chris Walrath. I'm from Chapman and Cutler. We're bond counsel to Intermountain. Item 11 is a bond resolution for fixed rate bonds. And as Matt was saying, there are 3 resolutions here, 11, 12, and 13. There are 3 different types of bonds, and so we wanted them treated in 3 separate resolutions. And so item 11 is a resolution for fixed rate bonds. It's not to exceed $300 million. And these are typical fixed rate bonds. They'll be priced a couple weeks in front of closing. Supported by Intermountain, and as Matt talked about before, county's not on the hook for these other than the loan payments that Intermountain will make. Full indemnification by Intermountain to the county, very similar, almost identical to the indemnifications that were provided to the county back in 2016 and 14 and 12, and for every bond issue that Intermountain has done with them. To clarify,
Chris, can I
yes,
have you
sure.
just as clarification for
Absolutely.
everybody? Because it was joint with Salt Lake County in the hearing,
Mhm.
I think it's important to understand it works uniformly. When you say county, even though we're dealing with Utah County, it actually means any of the other entities as well.
Yeah, that's true. So with respect to the way these bond issues are done, right, as Matt talked about before, the county is acting as a conduit here. Utah County is acting as a conduit. In order for the bonds to be tax exempt, they need to be issued by a governmental entity. And that's why not-for-profits like Intermountain avail themselves of the counties here in Utah to issue bonds on their behalf. Here, we've got this program established with Utah County that we've had in place since 2012, where we've done multiple bond issues. The county entered into an interlocal agreement with Salt Lake and Weber and a bunch of other counties back in 2012 that allows us to issue bonds over multiple series, over multiple years. And so that's what we're doing here. What makes this one a little different than what we've done in the past is that Salt Lake County had requested that Utah County hold the public hearing on their behalf. Now, that's not true with respect to some of the other counties, in Weber and Wasatch and a few of the other ones that are also having things financed in their locations this time around, held their own public hearings. Now, Salt Lake, even though Utah County was kind enough to hold the hearing on their behalf, still has to meet and do a TEFRA approval, and they're going to do that tonight. And so one of the things we're going to do is deliver to them a copy of the minutes from this meeting so they know that nobody showed up and there were no concerns. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
You know,
no
if
problem.
I can make a statement in there too, because I know I'll get questions on this if I don't say it. You talked about it being tax exempt.
Yes, sir.
And so some will ask the question and say, why is the county allowing that to happen for tax exempt purposes?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to remind everybody that by state statute, that if we don't have a partner like IHC, then that means that the county must have their own hospital, and heaven forbid that we're trying to run a hospital. So I just wanted, there's a partnership there that I think that there's a connection, and to allow for these things to go forward, so that we don't have to do them as well, and that's part of the partnership that we have with IHC. That's why I feel comfortable in going through this and saying, okay, use our tax exempt status of that, so that we can benefit you as a partner in this, which is a benefit to us as partners as well.
That's very well said, and the concept behind the conduit financing is that Intermountain is performing this performing this public function, right? So they're running the hospitals,
Right.
And so that's very well said. That's a perfect example of why this is a benefit to the community.
Well, and further, going along with Commissioner Lee's point, just if the public were interested, Intermountain does present a very lengthy tax-exempt plan to us every year for review to show the true benefit of what they do. So there is actually even more detail behind the scenes if anybody's ever interested, because we do have that, and we actually just reviewed that not too long ago. So,
Right. Excellent. Okay. The other two resolutions, just to take them quickly, so 12 and 13, slightly different bonds, right? So same general concept under the bond document, still full indemnification by Intermountain to Utah County with respect to the bonds themselves, still paid by loan payments from Intermountain. But the bonds referenced in item number 12 are going to be put bonds. So instead of having a fixed rate to maturity, they'll have a fixed rate to some shorter put date, 5-7 years, something like that, at which point then the bonds will reset and take advantage, hopefully, of better interest rates down the road. The third one is a variable rate issue, and those are probably going to go out in a daily rate mode, so they'll price on a daily basis. The interest rate will change. It'll be a very nice low rate of interest, and that particular set of bonds is going to be supported by a liquidity facility by TD Bank. And what that will do is support the ability of Intermountain to pay a put. And what that means for these particular bonds is they're puttable by the holders on very short notice. So in lieu of Intermountain having to come up with $100 million to pay a put when a bondholder doesn't want these bonds anymore, the bank stands behind that in case they're not remarketed. Point of fact is there probably would never really be a failed remarketing on these. Intermountain's credit is such that, that when a put does come in for various reasons, they get remarketed back out by the remarketing agent for these bonds, which in this case is Wells Fargo.
one more thing, if you wouldn't mind addressing, just because, like Commissioner Lee, we'll get certain questions.
Sure.
In the public hearing, it says the amount not to exceed 600,000, and as you read, very lengthy. When you add 11, 12, and 13, it's 650,000, or excuse me, million. Million. 650,000, they wouldn't be bonding.
Right.
650 million in totality.
Sure. So two different things. So the public hearing was not to exceed $600 million over the course of the next 3 years. We're doing a TEFRA program here, and that's exactly what we've done in the past. These three bond issues in total, I think, when the dust actually settles, Intermountain's only going to issue roughly $350 million. Now, the three resolutions that you have here are not to exceed numbers, and so Intermountain would like the flexibility, depending on market conditions, to kind of allocate among those three bond issues. So it's entirely possible, if the fixed rates are really nice and low, that we're going to do, up to that $300 million of fixed rate and a fewer amount of dollars in those other two. And so that's the concept. So there will not be $650 million of bonds done at this particular time. It's going to be more like 350, roughly 350.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so, and again, these are not to exceed numbers. These
Correct.
these are not mandated. They're not to exceed.
No, it's part of the good management and why we're able to continue to have, to some, mostly affordable health care around these parts because of these types of
Excellent.
management decisions.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, any additional public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion, I believe.
I will move that we approve regular agenda item 11, the fixed rate bonds bond resolution.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 11. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. We'll now look at regular agenda item number 12. This is a bond resolution. Again, I believe we have an understanding moving forward. Again, any additional comment on these? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion that we approve the bond resolution as stated number 12 on our regular agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 12. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. Next, we have regular agenda item number 13. Again, a similar bond resolution.
Move that we approve the regular agenda item number 13, the variable rate bonds resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 13. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. We will now look to set our closed meetings. We have no need for number 15. We do have requests for number 16 and 17, and no need for number 18.
Did you say no need for 18?
No need for 18.
I'll make a motion that we strike number 15 and number 18 from our regular agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to strike regular agenda items number 15 and 18. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0.
I'll make a motion that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss, for a strategy session to discuss the sale of property, water rights, or water shares previously public and notice for sale at today's date at this location following the completion of our regular agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 16. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0.
I'll make a motion that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals at today's date at this location following the completion of our regular agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve regular agenda item number 17. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. All right. We'll now look, there's no work session items submitted. Is there any general public comment? Seeing none, we will go ahead and thank you for your attendance and move to our closed sessions.
I wish I had known she was going to make that comment. We could have definitely